Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Am I the Jerk? Our first post is by AITA Car Seats. Am I the jerk for refusing to take the car seats out of my car so my family can take one car to Christmas? I'm 20F, a nanny to 4 kids 9-month 2, 4, 7. One of the requirements of the job was having a car that could fit 4 car booster seats. Mine didn't, but I applied anyways, and they liked me, so they got me in contact with a friend that was selling a 5-ish-year-old Ford Explorer for cheap. They bought the car, but it's in my name, and they're just taking some money out of my check each month for me to pay it back. It is my car and I can do pretty much whatever I want in it, but I need 3 car seats and a booster in there Monday to Friday. I refuse to take the car seats out because I do not know how to install them, and I can't have the parents do it every time I want to drive a couple friends. I still have my Civic that I used before I got this job, so when I'm not working I usually drive the Civic. My family was about to go to Christmas, and my mom told me to get the car seats out of the Explorer so we can all take one car. I said no because the only one that I know how to remove is the booster seat. My mom said I could watch a YouTube video, but I honestly don't feel comfortable installing the car seats, and I couldn't live with myself if the seats weren't properly installed and something happened. My mom thought I was being dramatic and that I was just trying to get out of having the family see how messy my car is. I ended up driving my Civic and my mom followed in her car, but she's still mad that I made us take 2 cars instead of taking the car seats out. Am I the jerk? Our next post is by Extension Eagle. Am I the jerk for saying I don't want to be called Aunt? My 32F father is 20 years older than his younger brother David, 34M. Due to various factors, David spent a majority of his early years with my parents. By the time I was 10 and David was 12, he moved in. David and my dad look nearly identical, and people always assumed that was his son. My parents always said he was their first kid, they loved him like a son, etc. I always felt a bit weird about this. David is a nice guy, but he's not my brother. I never understood why it was my parents' job to pick up the slack of my grandparents. It caused a few disagreements in my youth that always boiled down to, David has nothing, you have everything, be nice. I hated that I essentially went from an only child to a younger sister without being asked. I never looked at David as a brother, but obviously due to our small age gap, I never saw him as an uncle. To me, he's just family. We get along, and David is now married with a daughter, Aria. My parents are grandma and grandpa to her. It does make me feel some sort of way that they've christened her as their first grandbaby, but I've accepted I can't control how they feel and relate themselves to David. So long as when my husband and I have kids they're the same to them, and I know they will be, that's fine. The real issue is that David, his wife, and my parents have tried making me Aunt Tabitha. I don't like it. Aria isn't my niece. I tried to just refer to myself as my first name with her, but the hint wasn't going through. As Aria is too little to speak, 8 months, I plan to let it go for now. Yesterday, we were at my parents' for Christmas. Aria was being fussed over, as usual. When it came time for David and his wife to help her unwrap the gift my husband and I got her, David told Aria, "This is from Auntie Tabitha and Uncle Mike." Without thinking, I said, "Just Tabitha and Mike." David gave me an odd look but went back to unwrapping. Later on, privately, David asked if I was okay. I said yes. Why? He said I got weird during gifts. I said not weird, just factual. I'm not Aria's aunt. He was still confused. I said I'm not his sister. This seemed to hurt his feelings, but he said okay, apologized, and said he'd never say it again. My mom pulled me aside later and said I was cruel to David. She said he considered me his sister. I simply said I'm not, and I'm not that baby's aunt. My mom gave me a disgusted look. She and my dad barely spoke to me the rest of the night, though David and his wife were polite. My husband feels there were better ways of going about it. Am I the jerk? Our next post is by Individual Worry. Am I the jerk for telling my mom she can't discard me and her grandkids and expect me to invite her over for Christmas? My mom was a single mom to me until I, 28M, was 7. She then met my stepdad Joe and married him. Joe had been divorced for 3 years and had 2 kids, 6F and 4M at the time. Joe's relationship with his ex-wife was hostile, possibly the most hostile I have ever witnessed even today. Joe's ex decided her and Joe's kids should never treat my mom with respect, and she had them treating my mom like she was the other woman. I was upset for my mom at the time, and she told me they would grow up and realize what their mom had done and they would come around, at least to the point of being civil. I think at some point my mom saw her stepkids as a challenge she needed to win. She went out of her way to win them over, and there were many times it came at my expense. The worse they treated her, the more she focused on them, and forgot she had an actual son who loved and needed her. Joe was fine, but he worked a lot, so I felt abandoned by my mom, and I felt like my mom wouldn't even notice if I was gone. When Joe's kids were teenagers, their mom died and they moved in with us permanently. Before this, they were at our house every other week. Them moving in was hell. They would yell insults at my mom on a daily basis, would tell her they wished she had died instead of their mom. They called a disgusting, repulsive whore who infected everyone she met. They spread a rumor around high school that mom had cheated on Joe and had infected him. Joe had his kids in therapy, he had talks with them, issued consequences for their mistreatment of my mom. But at no point did it stop, and equally, at no point my mom gave up. When I moved out for college, it became clear to me that mom was going to stay more concerned with her stepkids than with me. She was disinterested when I introduced her to my wife. We met in college. She really didn't take much of an interest in our wedding planning. She was busy trying to get Joe's kids to see her because once they moved out, they told Joe they would only see him alone. Once or twice his kids asked my mom for money, and that kept her holding on. When my wife and I had our first child is when I gave up. My mom showed zero interest and didn't make any effort to meet my daughter for weeks, and when she did meet her, there was still zero interest. Joe went to his kids for Christmas this year and left my mom home. Mom sent me a text saying this and I ignored it. 2 days ago, she left a voice message saying I should have invited her to my house for Christmas so she wasn't alone and could be with her son and grandchildren. I called her right back and told her she can't discard us and then expect me to invite her to Christmas. I told her she wanted to chase people who would rather see her dead and would dance on her grave than her son who loves her, so she can F off and leave me alone and stop trying to make us her consolation prize. Mom claimed I was cruel and out of line with how I treated her. Am I the jerk? Our next post is by Ordinary Sherbert. Am I the jerk for taking away my daughter's gifts because she didn't spend Christmas with us? My daughter Leah's mother and I were never married, but we did officially separate when she was 5. I got with my wife Nia when Leah was 9 and married her when Leah was 12. Leah never got on with Nia, didn't want to spend time with her, and was just generally unpleasant to her. We are currently in family therapy, and honestly, I think Leah just says the meanest thing possible to avoid actually discussing her feelings with us. She's absolutely amazing to hang around with one-on-one, but is unpleasant around Nia. We were all supposed to spend Christmas together, as per our custody agreement. Leah is 16 now, and we have been more lenient, but we have always adhered to our agreement for holidays and birthdays. On Christmas Eve, Leah left to see her boyfriend's family and drop off her gifts. At around 6, I call her and ask when she's heading home. She says she's staying. I know her mom lives near her boyfriend and asked if that's where she was going. She didn't answer. I told her to come home and she pretty much agreed, but then never did. I did call her boyfriend's parents and they confirmed she left to her mother's, and I called her mother who said Leah was there. Leah was heartbroken because she felt like Leah didn't want to be there because of her. This year Nia handled all the gifts. She did the work of going in stores and picking them up, picking them out. I decided my daughter wasn't allowed to crap on Nia's efforts to at least be civil with her. So when Leah got home and I asked why she wasn't at Christmas, she said she wanted to spend it with her real mom. I said that's fine. When she asked about her gifts, I said her fake mom got it for her, so she didn't need them. Needless to say, she's pissed at me and hasn't said anything. Nia appreciates me putting my foot down but feels like Leah is a lost cause and to just give her the gifts. Leah's mom agrees she needs to stop treating Nia badly and expecting no consequences. Am I the jerk? Note, she has the gifts her mom and boyfriend and other family got her, just not the ones Nia helped with. I got her a car for Christmas, gifted it to her in November because she needed the car. Leah is an only child on both sides. I have no other children and don't plan to. I am fine with having a relationship with Leah outside of Nia. My issue is she treats Nia badly, like subhuman. She acts outright nasty to her. I wouldn't push so hard if she could at least be civil. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.